only got 8 years of life, by the way, just so you know. You only live 8 years. Average person lives 78. You spend 28 of those years sleeping. You spend 10 and a half to 12 of them working. You spend another 3 or 4 shopping, chores, internet, traffic, added up, you get 8 years. And you're not a newborn, so you got less than that. You got to get in a hurry to make a difference in your life. Time is running out like that. I'm fired up. Are you fired up? Probably didn't know we were going there. When I was a kid growing up, I don't know if you had this, my mom had the good china in a china cabinet. We had this furniture in the living room that was wrapped with cellophane that we weren't allowed to sit on until important people came over. Anybody have any of that in their house? We never got around to sitting on it. And it died and got stale and old and dated, and so do dreams. If you don't start getting after your dream, it'll get old and dated and stale because you keep wrapping it in cellophane. You keep waiting till you know a little more. Till I know a little more. Till I know a little more. If I just knew a little more, that's BS. You don't need to know a little more. You need to execute a little more. You need to get after it. You need to make some mistakes. Perfection is the lowest possible standard. Quit trying to be perfect. You don't need to know everything. The best people I know in business, they take action when they don't know everything. They learn what they can and they go execute. They make a mess. Being an entrepreneur is messy. You need to embrace the mess. Embrace the chaos. You're never going to know everything you think you need to know. That's why my low IQ, and I'm not kidding when I say that, is to some extent an advantage. I don't think about all the stuff I don't need to know. I started on social media 2 years ago. I'm the #1 growth person in the history of business on social media, according to Forbes magazine. The way it started, Tony Robbins sitting on my balcony says, you need to get into this space. There's nobody that's an heir apparent. You're a better speaker than me. You know more of this stuff than me. And all these other clowns don't know what they're talking about. Get in the space. I said, I don't want to do that. I'm shy. I'm introverted. I just like speaking on the stage and leaving. I don't want to be posting stuff every day. He goes, that's why you're an effing loser. Right on my balcony on that copper house you seen there. I said, I'm a loser. He goes, yeah, you say you want to help all these people, but you don't want to be inconvenienced to do it. I said, dude, I don't even know how all this stuff works. He's like, you think I know all this stuff works? Just start, dumbass. My son was in the kitchen. I said, Max, go get your phone. How do you do this thing? He goes, Dad, you need an account. I go, set me up one. He comes back 5 minutes later. He goes, I got you an Instagram account. I go, okay, good. I'm going to do one of those videos. And he literally goes, it has to be a minute. I said, a minute? I don't even clear my throat in a minute. How the hell am I going to make a message to me? He goes, just do it. And I said, blah, 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 post that one. Next day, I got 3 followers and 3 likes. I called Tony. I go, this crap isn't working. He goes, you've done 1 message, dumbass. He goes, by the way, post earlier in the morning, like around breakfast time. I'm on my boat driving to his house. I go, okay, breakfast time. And then I hear him say, I swear to you, this is true. I hear him say, what I hear is he goes, you need to post early, like around breakfast time, and make sure you add some hash browns to that. And I don't want to be embarrassed and act like I don't know anymore. So I call my son and I said, hey, you said you knew what you were doing on this stuff. Where the hell are the hash browns on this post? And I'm not playing around. If you don't know, I'll hire somebody who does. You're 15, you should know how this stuff works. He goes, Dad, I don't. I go, you're supposed to post at breakfast time and somehow there's hash browns involved. Hashtags. And then Tony was my first guest. Then I recorded my first podcast. Listen to me. This will relate to you, and then I'm going to get into some detail. So I said, Tony, how do you do one? He goes, I don't know. Google it. I'm the #1 podcast in the world now. Tony, Grant, Gary Vee combined, less downloads than me. They've been doing it for years. I've been doing it for like 18 months. Why is that? By the way, you should be listening to my podcast. Okay. Why? So this is literally what happens. I go, how do you say it? He goes, what the hell, Tony? Like, what are you talking about? How do you say it where it gets in your computer? He goes, you probably need a microphone, dude. I don't know. Google it. So I Google how to start a podcast. Tim Ferriss, turns out, I didn't even know who that was, had an audio on how to start a podcast. I listened to the audio. He says, go to Amazon. I got a kit, the microphone, the recorder, that other stuff. So I ordered Tim Ferriss's kit, right? I get it to my house. I plug the mic in. I stick it, and I talk for like 30 minutes, my first podcast. And then I'm done. And I call Tony. I go, hey, I get it. How does it get out of that box into the world? He goes, I think you need to take that stick out and stick it in your computer. I'm on the phone with him. I go, okay, it's in there. He goes, save it. I go, okay, it's on the computer. Okay, cool. And we hang up. And then like an hour later, I go, so how do people know that's in my computer? You think I'm kidding? I swear to God. How do I know this is in my, and I call, I go, hey, how's it get out of my computer into the, the internet? He's like, I don't know that part either. I just record when my team does it. I go, I don't have a team. I got Max. He doesn't even know about hash browns. And then I finally figured out you had to host things. Do you think if I waited around to know everything, this would not have happened? You take action. The Lord has a way when you step into a new space of revealing to you the people, places, resources, and things you need in that space, and you go from there and you go to the next one. I have a great friend of mine named Carl Edwards, who was a NASCAR driver. I sponsored his car for a number of years, and he said the scariest thing in NASCAR is when there's a crash in front of you, we are trained to drive right into the smoke.
The challenges of life. How do we get stuck? A friend of mine went through a divorce. My best best friend. He had a wife that did not love him as much as he loved her. It was his first real true love. He was a very religious man, did not believe in divorce. He made a mistake, and he paid for his mistake with a lot of pain, a lot of tears. And there came to a point where he knew he should have gotten a divorce. But he was stuck. He was stuck in something called revenge. He said, she's made me so miserable, I'm going to pay her back. He was stuck. And he stayed in there longer than he should have because it began to attack him. It began to affect him psychologically. And as a result of that, when he eventually did get a divorce, he took that same attitude to other relationships, looking for something to go wrong. He was burned so badly, he did not want to risk pain again. He was going in relationships trying to avoid pain. When it became too close, he would do something to make sure the relationship did not work. He would always try and find something wrong with the person because there are no perfect people. So if you look for it, you can find it. He was stuck in revenge. Another friend of mine, working on a job, loved the company very much, expected to retire there. And one day they called him in the office, asked him for his badge and identification, called the security man up, walked into his desk, told him he was fired and he had to leave then. He was devastated. And if you came anywhere near him, he will tell you his story, as we all have stories. Even when he got a job, he went on the job telling anybody who would listen how they fired him unjustly. And he always ended with, it wasn't fair. Life isn't fair. Life just is. It's not fair that birds eat worms, and they do.
The Bible said the quiet seclusion, finding a still place where you can hear that little voice that directs traffic in your life. It's like the navigational system in my car. It says down 2 blocks and turn left. And that works real good until I turn the music up too loud. And when because I'm out of the 60s, so I turn the music up until you have a hearing deficit, and I'm trying to hear direction, but the music is so loud. Now my new car, it just cuts it down for me right in the middle of the song. Turn left at the corner. Yeah, and sometimes God has to turn the music down for you because everything's turned up too loud, and God has to turn it down and bring you to your knees where you can hear the still voice. That's what started you. That's what called you. That's what inspired you. Don't let the noise of life or the noise of success or the noise of struggles or the noise of popularity become so loud that you lose your ability to hear the still small voice. For preachers, we think that we are speakers. And let me give you just the key to speaking. People who do not hear right cannot speak. Have you ever noticed that deaf people talk funny? They talk funny because they hear funny. You talk funny. So he's back up in the cave again, and then the still small voice speaks in his life and begins to give him direction. You would be shocked how many leaders live in the cave. Leaders have a tendency to be cavemen. Cavemen, that's why you want it done a certain way. Do it this way or get out of here. Cavemen got a club, getting it done. Only time you're nice is on stage. People who work with you behind the scenes know that you're demanding and egotistical and self-centered and stressed out. And when you want it the way you want it. Boom, you caveman. This is my last day. I get nasty now.
Fundamentals form the beginning, the basis, the reality from which everything else flows. And remember, there are no new fundamentals. Fundamentals are old, well established. Beware of someone who claims to have a new fundamental. That's like someone who claims to manufacture antiques. We would have to be suspicious, right? So fundamentals, basics, they are so very important to understand and consider and practice if you wish for the good life. And may I add here, make sure you don't go looking for the exotic answers to success. Success is a very basic process. It doesn't fall out of the sky, it doesn't have any mysteries, nor does it fall into the realm of the miraculous. Success is merely a natural result that comes from the consistent operation of the practical fundamentals. As someone wisely remarked, to be successful you don't have to do extraordinary things. Just do ordinary things extraordinarily well. Mr. Schoaf, my teacher, gave me many great phrases I'll always remember. One of them was, there are always about a half dozen things that make 80% of the difference. What a key thought, a half dozen things. Whether we are working on our health, wealth, personal goals, or professional enterprise, The difference between our ultimate success or inevitable failure lies in the degree to which we are willing to seek out, study, and to go to work on those half-dozen things. For a farmer to reap a plentiful harvest in the fall, for example, the major basics are fairly obvious. Soil, seed, water, sunshine, nourishment, and care. Each fundamental being equally in need of study and attention, for together they bring about the best chance for a successful harvest.
Nothing may be changing on the outside, but something's happening on the inside.
I could always hear my daddy's voice. I don't care where I was. I could be on the school bus. I could be in the lunchroom. I could be on the playground. I could be somewhere I shouldn't be.
And that's how I talk. I shoot pool. I make you tear up your cards, break your cue stick.
Only thing that's going to make you happy, my friend, in this year or any other is to step up. It's to raise the standard, it's to discover what you're capable of and feel that incredible power pushing through whatever's holding you back and get to the other side of more of your true self. That's what this game is all about, so life is real short, so you have all your traveling and of all your sleeping and of all your school. Out of all your entertainment, you've probably been half your life doing nothing, so out of 30 years, I might have about 16 years to be productive, so it's how we can all break individual lives now. You've got to completely divorce yourself from this notion of outcome and become completely obsessed with the idea of sincere pursuit. Now, why sincere pursuit? The reason to tie your sense of self, your self-esteem. Why?
Your character is being developed. You're gaining experience, maturity, strength that you'll need to go where God is taking you. Don't complain about the silence. God does His greatest work in isolation. When God is silent, that doesn't mean He's not concerned. Just the opposite. It's a sign that He's closely watching you. God loves you so much that at times He will hide you. He'll cause the door not to open. He'll cause a person to walk away. If you don't understand that it's God hiding you, you'll be frustrated and try to make things happen out of God's timing. You have to pass this test when you're hidden. Here's a key. Don't compare your life to other people's.
I can always hear my daddy's voice. My daddy could protect me on the streets of Chicago when he was not even there. You have children. You have grandchildren. Make sure they can always hear your voice. But most importantly in business, whose voice are you listening to? When it comes to franchising, whose voice are you listening to? When it comes to same-day sales, whose voice are you listening to? When it comes down to hiring the right Cassie, whose voice are you listening to? When it comes down to being successful in franchising, whose voice are you listening to? My wife and I are former franchisees. That's why I'm a no-brainer to speak at franchise conferences, because every franchise system has typically two groups at the conference.
They're further along. They don't have the challenges you do. God's purpose for your life is not the same as theirs. Stay focused on your calling. You may have big dreams, but nobody is noticing you. Don't get discouraged. It's because God had you hidden. You are in a time of preparation. God is getting you ready for what He has in store. You will come into a time where God causes you to be seen. Just as God hid you, He will bring you out into the open and cause you to go where you couldn't go on your own. When God brings you out, He will catapult you forward. When you have an expensive piece of jewelry, you put it in a box and hide it. It's valuable, so you keep it hidden. When you're going somewhere special, you bring it out for people to see. The reason you're hidden is because you're extremely valuable.
You have the one group that buys in, and they're in the corner talking about how can we execute, how can we improve same-day sales. Wow, you're doing good, I'm doing good, let's keep working together. What can we do to improve the brand? We're at the conference, let's buy in. There's always another group over in the other corner. Yeah, man, corporate. Yeah, corporate. Corporates are always trying to sell us something. I know. They're just trying to make money. All that stuff they're talking about, you gonna do it? Nope, me either. So every sister, trust me, has two different groups at the conference. The group that buys in and the group that's rebels and rebels. But here's another rhetorical question for you. What group are you with?
You really have to work hard for a set of skills that matter to you. A fool never learns. A smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So you've got to completely divorce yourself from this notion of outcome and become completely obsessed with the idea of sincere pursuit. And so when you look at the night sky and that sense of awe grips you or calls something out of you right to respond to, your encounter with the infant, even your encounter with mortality, your encounter with finitude and limitation, all of that. In relationship to the internet, that sense of awe is also the calling forth of something out of you that can respond to the challenge of that infinite. Well, that's the microcosm within. No, it's a reflection of the structure of the cosmos itself. That's the divine ideal.
Because I talk a lot of trash. I'll throw you off. You've never been to Boston, I'll take you there. So I learned how to signify and talk trash, all right? So I make a living talking trash to AT&T. I make more in 1 hour than 90% of the American public earn working for a whole year doing what I love to do. That I've developed my talent. You want to master your talent. Find out what it is that you love to do. I love to talk. Scripture is another key that says to us what we need to do to begin to develop ourselves. Luke 12:34, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So what do you love to do? And then explore ways in which you can earn a living doing that. Cooking, writing, painting, working with numbers, working with people. The other thing is, not only must you have knowledge, talent, some skill.
See, at the gym, you never think, oh, I'm going through some pain and discomfort. This must be a sign I shouldn't be at the gym. You'd never think that. You have to break it down, suffer and sacrifice for it to grow.
When you need motivation yourself, don't look for someone to scream and yell. Don't look for someone else to give you motivation. Look at yourself and remind yourself why you are doing what you are doing. This temporary pain, this fight, this is what will make you stronger.
That's the key word. Discipline. Self-discipline. Consistent self-discipline. It doesn't really matter how smart you are or how much you know if you don't use it. Better than knowledge is applied knowledge.
I'll never be rich. You what you want the moment. You change the frequency that your tower emits, different things come back to you. If you change your attitude, you change your altitude. Most of us go through life pretending that we're satisfied where we are, pretending that everything's okay, pretending that we don't have any special goals or ambitions or desires. When really deep down inside, we do really want more, because you have to judge a tree by the fruit it bears, not the fruit that it talks about. See, a lot of people pretend that they want more out of life, but all you have to do is watch their actions.
But the other thing that's important, faith to act on whatever your dream is. See, if you don't believe in yourself, how many people you know that have a lot of talent, a lot of abilities, but they don't believe in themselves? Raise your hands. See, that faith is very important. So the faith to act on those dreams, those desires. Here's scripture that I like very much. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Commit means to carry into action deliberately. Commit means to make it happen no matter what. Commitment is the difference between next time you have bacon and eggs. The chicken was involved. The pig was committed. He had to give it all up. That's going to take a minute to sink in. No, all right? See, when you make a commitment, I'm going to become wealthy. When you make it important.
And once we've applied our knowledge, we must study the results of that process.
Get the clutter out. Start letting some of this junk go to make some room for something else. Do that with people. There's some people who's cluttering up your life. They're just holding and occupying the space that somebody useful, positive could be holding that space. You don't even have time to look to see what else is out there, because you all have all of these people surrounding you that's not enabling you to grow.
I mean, tonight, you've experienced someone failing. Maybe your mom was never there. Maybe it was a boyfriend who promised you the world but took off. Before you know it, what happens is these failures are holding us back from getting into our future. And these bad relationships are blinding us from all of the good potential relationships.
I will try 100 times to get up, And if I fail 100 times? If I fail and I give up, do you think that I'm ever going to get up? No. But if I fail, I try again and again and again. For as long as I try, there's always that chance of getting up, and it's not the end until you've given up. You have to start living your life in expectation. You've got to start expecting great things to happen for you. In order for it to happen, if you live your life in expectations, that's what happens to you. If you live your life in despair, that's what happens to you. Disengage your sense of self, your sense of self-worth from achievement. Once you are wholly focused on sincere pursuit, everything changes.
Here's how to really cash in on this year. Number one, get serious. Life is serious. We call it life or death. Somebody asked me one time if I had a good description of life. I said, yes, I think I've got a good one. Life is the struggle to keep death at a respectable distance. Right? Death seems to want to move in prematurely. If you want to live a good, long, flourishing life, you got to push back. You can't just give in. You got to push back. And we're dealing with some serious matters here. So we can't just, tell the latest 10 jokes and just go home. We're not here to entertain. We're here to instruct. We're here to grow. We're here to learn. We're here to get the best we possibly can. Serious. Life is serious. The future's serious. One ancient novelist said, these are the best of times and these are the worst of times. And for some of those who came across this platform at the extravaganza, $1 million a year incomes, for them, it's the best of times. But I want you to know that while they're getting the diamonds and the millions, there are a lot of people around the world, for them, it is the worst of times. The best of times and the worst of times. That's called serious, man. How come such a difference from those who can reach such incredible heights and those who haven't yet found the answers for their life, their health, and their future? We just have to ponder that and let that give us a note of seriousness, a note of seriousness. It's serious whether you win or lose. It's serious whether you succeed or fail. It's serious whether you've got a good future carved out for yourself or you do not. These are serious matters. Matters of the heart are serious. Matters of income are serious. Matters of supporting your family, serious. Are you serious? Why? We got a serious matter here to discuss. We haven't come with the latest 10 stories. We've come with a serious matter. And I want you to take on that serious tone. You've got some serious products that answer a serious need out there in the marketplace. And I'm asking you to take it serious. Take your own future serious. What you can do for your family, take it serious. Here's number 2, get smart. That's what these journals are for. That's what pad and pencil's for. That's what taking notes is for. See if you can't increase your ability to comprehend ideas, information that can be life-transforming. Don't miss the opportunity to learn. Take a good key phrase home, use it in your training. Don't be lazy in learning. Don't be casual in learning. Get smart. Here's a couple of parts to it. Number 1, your own personal experience. Right? If you've had a bad week, just sit down and ponder that for a while. Study it. See if you can't pick up some ideas from a poor week and then make a better week. Okay? Learn from your own experiences. One way to learn to do it right is do it wrong. I mean, that's one way to learn to do it right. Do it wrong. Now the key is don't let it take too long. If you've done it wrong for a year, we suggest that's long enough. You don't need another year just to prove a point. No, 1 year is enough. Learn from your own experience, right? The possibility for life change starts with education. Don't be lazy in learning. Don't be lazy in picking up the ideas. Don't be lazy in learning from your own experience. Learning is the beginning of wealth. Learning is the beginning of life change. Some people want to start with motivation. You don't start with motivation. So is it just motivate this guy, he'll be all right? The answer is no, probably not. If a guy's an idiot, motivate him. Now you got a motivated idiot. So education, get smart. Don't miss the training class. You say, well, I've already been to one of those classes. I've already heard it. Got a good phrase for you to take home. That's no sign you got it. Just because you've listened to those millionaire tapes one time is no sign you've got it. I'm asking you to listen to them over and over and over. I'm asking you to dedicate yourself to a new level of learning. Study, learn, grow, change, develop. Never let it be said you didn't learn. Right? If you want to solve your problems, you got to learn. If you want to take advantage of an opportunity, you got to learn. Here's number 3. Get going. You got to get going. You got to take action. The disciplines is the miracle process. And here's how to get the miracle of your future going as far as disciplines are concerned. Number 1, do what you can. You might go home and set a whole new pace for yourself. And we call it cleaning up neglect. Should walk around the block, could walk around the block for your good health. Don't walk around the block. See, you're on the wrong track. Should read, could read, don't read, on the wrong track. Should call, could call, don't call, on the wrong track. Could change, should change, don't change. You're on the wrong track. Letters you haven't written, conversations you haven't had with your family, somebody you should sit down with when you get back home, get that job done. Don't let neglect destroy your days, destroy your life, and destroy your future. Go back and do what you can. And if you'll do what you can, then life will give you some extraordinary things to do. We all pity the man, right? Wants to stride out of his house, go straighten out the corporation, has not yet straightened out his garage. You got to take care of the small disciplines before life will give you a chance to handle the more complicated disciplines. Do not disregard the smallest of disciplines. Let us not neglect. Do not neglect the smallest of disciplines. And build on that foundation, and you can have everything you could possibly want. Okay? Get going. Here's number 4. Get better. There isn't any of us that can't get better. So turn on this whole idea of personal development and personal growth. That was what my teacher shared with me that changed my life. I'm telling you, for things to get better, you got to get better. Don't ask for it to change out there. Ask for you to change here. Don't ask for a more favorable wind. We call that naive. Don't ask for better seed, better soil. This is the only planet you got. Just ask that you can get wiser and stronger and better and be able to take care of your own responsibilities. Get better. Just make a list of that trio of words. Wiser, stronger, better. Go home smarter than you came. Go home with more ideas than you came. Next, get stronger. You can develop the muscle. You can develop the courage muscle. You can develop the inspiration muscle. You can develop the dedication muscle. You can get stronger. There isn't anybody here that can't get stronger. Next time we see you, may not even recognize you. How strong you're going to be able to become in language, style, personality, the ability to cope, the ability to handle with anything that happens, no matter what happens. And the third one is get better. We can all get better. I've gotten better. First talk I gave, I stood up, my mind sat back down. And here's the secret to my success. I stood up and did it again. I stood up, I did it again. And I did it again, and I did it again all those many years ago. I did it when I was scared, and I did it when I didn't want to, and I did it when I was ill. And I did it when it didn't work well, and I did it when they didn't appreciate it, and I didn't a lot of times when I didn't know much what I was doing. I just did it anyway. And now all these years later, I'm asked to walk on this stage with the greatest introduction I've ever had, the greatest response and welcome I've ever had. The greatest opportunity I've ever had to touch this many lives with a mixture of words and heart and soul. I got better. I got better day by day and week by week and month by month, and I'm asking you to do the same thing until you can develop a long arm and a long reach, until you can develop influence that won't quit. Touch people next year you couldn't touch this year. Touch people now you couldn't touch before. Conduct a meeting now you couldn't conduct before. Heart and soul now mixed in there that wasn't there, missing before. I'm asking all of you to get better in spite of the winters, in spite of the downturn. The money downturn, the social downturn, the personal downturn, whatever it is. Just get stronger. Get better.
Would not you make it by Friday? But suppose I told you how you can become a millionaire with what you have.
I got my daughter who's a senior at Michigan State counting on me, and she don't know what a loan is. She don't know what FAFSA is. I got my mama who retired counting on me.
There's nothing worse than being stupid. And if you will read the books, learn from your experiences, do all the things that you possibly can to get the information,
you continue to fight on no matter the circumstances. Tired as you are as many mistakes as you, may you do make a difference there is. Something they would lose if you were not there. There was something that they would miss if you were not there. You do make a difference. We all have things that we're believing for, dreams that we want to accomplish, problems we're hoping will turn around. Maybe it's to see our family restored, to lose some weight, to break an addiction, to start our own business.
Because here's the deal. All of you have everything it takes to become rich. You just don't believe it. Now, if you can develop this theory that I'm about to share with you, I have the way for you to be rich. This is it. First of all of you have a gift. God gave it to you when he created you. God never created a single soul without giving them a gift. That's the God that created you. He's a very smart God. Here's the cold thing. When he made you, he put the gift inside of you. He didn't hide it under the ocean. It ain't on the mountain nowhere. It ain't under no rocks. You ain't got to go drilling. God put what you needed inside of you at birth. All of you have a gift.
That's where they go on relationship. That's why they start to tear it down. That's why the relationship starts to break down, because people get scared when it isn't working out, and then they make it worse than it is so they don't have to try. Because they don't want to try again and be disappointed. They don't want to feel that sense of rejection. They don't want to feel that sense of failure. So most people make it much worse than it is. People tell me all the time, oh, I'm skeptical or I'm pessimistic. I said, no, you're gutless. It takes no guts. It takes no courage to be a pessimist, to say it's not going to work, to try to find out what's wrong. What's wrong is always available. So is what's right. So I'm not into positive thinking, but I am into intelligence. And intelligence says, see it as it is. Don't make it worse than it is. You must immediately clarify what has to be changed. Whenever you have what you used to call a negative emotion, you're now going to call an action signal. You know that action signal is signaling you need to change one of two things. Either your perception or your procedure.
But you have got to do your gift. The thing God gave you at birth to do. It is the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. That's your gift. Anything else you doing, you wasting your time. Do you hear me? You wasting your time. If when the alarm clock goes off in the morning and it makes you sick every morning that alarm go off, it's because you ain't doing your gift. You're going against what God created you to be. Do most of you know what your gift is? Who in here doesn't know their gift yet? Okay, let me tell you what you do. Go home today. Don't talk to nobody. Sit down and have one conversation with yourself. What is the thing that I do the absolute best with the least amount of effort? This ain't gonna take you long. You old enough, you grown. Write it down. I don't care if it's networking.
Now let me clarify what I mean by that. Your perception might be, for example, that, gosh, you feel hurt. You feel like your husband doesn't love you so much anymore, or your wife doesn't love you so much anymore because, gosh, when you first met, boy, all you had to do was, look at them and they dropped their newspaper and came over and hugged you. Now they don't. You have a sense of loss and that hurts you inside. And that hurt is a lot more painful than the feelings of just being uncomfortable. The point, though, is this.
is this an appropriate emotion for you to feel based on this situation and this time with this person? That's really the question we want to ask ourselves whenever we have an emotion. We know that we have that signal. We need to first identify it, and then secondly, immediately appreciate this signal is offering us a message, and the message is we need to change. Again, our perception or our procedures. So our perception might be, person doesn't love me. Do we need to change our perception? Do we have some rules that are inappropriate in this situation? And the answer here probably is yes. Wouldn't you agree? This person is just wrapped up in what they're doing because they're just immersed. It doesn't mean they love you any less.
Sometimes as it goes on month after month, even year after year, we don't see anything changing. It's easy to get discouraged and think, it's never going to happen. This is as good as it gets. I'll just learn to live with it. We all go through disappointments, setbacks, loss, pain is a part of life. It's easy to get discouraged, even bitter. Think, why is this happening to me? Sometimes we look at pieces in our lives that don't make sense. The key is what we do in our times of pain. Pain will change us. Heartache, loss, disappointments, they don't leave us the same every painful time. Even though you don't like it.
I can't be replaced. Some of y'all acting like, you acting like you indispensable. You acting like if something happened to you, they're going to wait around for the next 2-3 years. Like your spot is just guaranteed. Talk to me. Why can't you be replaced? I got one. Give me one more. Why can't you? Maybe you don't even know why you can't be replaced. Do you know why you can't be replaced? Anybody? Don't let me call on you. Come on, talk to me. Why can't you be replaced? I got time. Coach, I asked him how much time I had before I came in. He told me what I had. We got a little bit more. I can sit here and wait the whole time if you want me to. But I need somebody to tell me why you can't be replaced. Oh, you good. You know already. I feel you, bro. You good. I need somebody else. We good.
You fought your whole life to get to this point just to let it slip away.
Sure enough, you'll be wiser this year than you were last year. And I've got a few techniques that I teach in my seminar on how to get smarter. Keeping a journal, going to the lectures, going to the seminars, listening to the sermons, picking up ideas from other people. You just must keep up this steady process of learning. Never cease your quest for knowledge. And that's one of the key points to go from average to fortune. Get smart. This is called the possibility for life change starts with education. Don't be lazy in learning. Don't be lazy in picking up the ideas. Don't be lazy in learning from your own experience. Learning is the beginning of wealth. Learning is the beginning of life change. Some people want to start with motivation, but you don't start with motivation. Somebody says, just motivate this guy, he'll be all right. The answer is no, probably not.
It's developing something in you that can only be developed in the tough times. Eventually, that will pass, you will get through it, but you will be different. In those tough times when you're uncomfortable, going through a loss, dealing with an illness, you could easily let it overwhelm you. Now how the pain changes you is up to you. You can come out bitter, or you can come out better. You can come out defeated, giving up on your dreams, or you can come out with a new passion, a new fire, excited about the new opportunities in front of you. I may not like it, but I'm not a whiner. I'm a warrior. I know I can handle this.
Did you hear what he just said? That's another player. That's why I'm saying it because I don't play football. Say it one more time.
You fought your whole life to get to this moment just to let it slip away.
You know what's crazy, bro? I've been doing this for a long time. I used to think in my mind, like when I used to go and speak for teams, I used to think in my mind like, yo, y'all finally there, right? Like, yo, like bros in here like scrapping and people getting up early and people eating right, like, and people ain't on social media and people ain't smoking and people ain't drinking. Like, I was so stupid when I first started doing this. I thought everybody that came to the league was about that life. I just thought everybody was like getting up first thing in the morning, hitting the weights, eating right. I thought everybody came out like, let's go. And then I realized, yo, some dudes got here. This was their whole dream to get to the league, and they got to the league and they ain't got no more dream. You finally got to where you've been trying to get to your whole life, and you were sweeter in high school in terms of the grind. You worked harder in college than you do in the NFL. It blew my mind. You here.
If a guy's an idiot, you motivate him. Now you got a motivated idiot. So education, get smart. Don't miss the training class. You say, well, I've already been to one of those classes. I've already heard it. Got a good phrase for you to take home. That's no sign you got it. Just because you've listened to those millionaire tapes one time is no sign you've got it. I'm asking you to listen to them over and over and over. I'm asking you to dedicate yourself to a new level of learning. You know, study, learn, grow, change, develop. Never let it be said you didn't learn. right? If you want to solve your problems, you got to learn. If you want to take advantage of an opportunity, you got to learn. Develop your own personal philosophy here. Philosophy, major determining factor in how your life works out. Each person's philosophy is like the set of the sail. The same wind blows on us all. The difference in where we arrive at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year is not the wind that blows.
Don't complain about the pain. Without the pain, we couldn't reach the fullness of our destinies. Sometimes we bring pain on ourselves. We make poor choices. Get in a relationship we know is not good, or maybe get over our head in our spending. Now it's painful. We're having to deal with the consequences. All of us experience pain. My challenge: don't just go through it, grow through it. That difficulty is an opportunity to get stronger, to develop character, to gain new confidence.
But most of all, success is making your life what you want it to be, considering all the possibilities, considering all the examples. What do you want for your life? That is the big question. Remember, success is not a set of standards from our culture, but rather a collection of personal values, clearly defined and ultimately achieved. Success is your better life for you, the design you give it, the dreams you accomplish. Making your life what you want it to be for you, that is success. One morning at breakfast, shortly after I met Mr. Show, he asked me if he could see my current list of goals. He said, "Let me see your list of goals, and let's go over them and talk about them. Maybe that's the best way I can help you right now." And I said, "I don't have a list." He said, "Well, is it out in the car or at home somewhere?" I said, "No, sir, I don't have a list anywhere." He said, "Well, young man, that's where we better start." Then he added, "If you don't have a list of your goals, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s, which he did, and that got my attention. I said, "You mean that if I had a list of goals, that would change my bank balance?" He said, "Drastically." That day I became a student of how to set goals. And sure enough, when I learned how, my whole life changed. My income, my bank account, my personality, my lifestyle, my accomplishments.
Recreating you, and you have the power to do that. You can decide that you're going to change, that you're not going to be a wimp. You can decide that you're going to stand up to life. You can decide that I'm going to live each day as if it were my last. You have the power to make that decision. You can decide, I'm going to work on myself and develop myself. I'm going to empower me. And all of these things that are happening to me right now, they're just temporary inconveniences. They're not stronger than I am. I'm in charge here. Next thing is separate what you do from who you are. That's what the guilt trap is about. See, a lot of folk won't let you forget what you used to do or what you have done, what mistakes you've made. All of us have made some mistakes in life. All of us have done some things that if we had them to do over again, we wouldn't do it again. There are a lot of things that if I had it to do over again, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done it differently. Well, it didn't happen that way. And that's what you call life. I didn't do it like that. Oh, you don't want me to live that down, huh? You want to keep on putting that in my face about what I did. Guess what? I'm not interested. That's what I did then. Won't do it today, so you are picking on an innocent man. Hello. So as you're in the process of reinventing your life, write a description of the kind of person that you want to be. What are the things that you must overcome? What qualities about your personality you know that you're going to have to change because those particular characteristics are liabilities to you? What are your assets? What are your strong points?
Your identity, your personal worth, the thoughts, concepts, and attitudes and beliefs you hold to be true about yourself are the thermostat of your life. They regulate everything. You have a money thermostat, a relationship thermostat, a fitness thermostat. And what happens in people's lives is they change the external results short term. No one's going to tell you this other than me. They start to change their conditions. I'm reading these books, I'm buying these properties, I've made a little bit of money, and your results begin to exceed. You start getting 85 and 90 degrees of results, but you didn't do the work to change your identity. You didn't change the thermostat your life is set at. And guess what starts to happen? I watch it over and over. You will thank me for this right here someday soon. The results get a little higher. They're 85. I closed the deal. I made a little money. I closed another one. I made a little money. I got this going. I've lost 20 pounds. Whatever it is. The results start to get higher than their set thermostat temperature. And guess what you do unconsciously? You You don't even know you're doing it. You turn the air conditioner on of your life and you will cool it back down. Eventually you get it right back where you're comfy, 75 degrees. Same thing happens when it goes bad. You're broke. The water's turned off. The power's turned off. Your car gets repossessed. They dynamite your property. You find a way to turn the heater on and get it back. The key to life is not the knowledge you learn. You have to have that. Knowledge is not power if it's not applied. The key in life is changing that internal thermostat. And if you don't change that, listen to me, it'll seem coincidental. Yeah, something happened to the property. It was a bad rain. Construction costs went up. The market conditions changed. The interest rate went up. No. It's not coincidental. It's not. You cooled your life back down because you didn't do the work on who you are. The thing I have in my life is I associate with higher and higher identity people more and more and more in my life. That's what this group does for you. Begin to power of association. The people you associate with keep you up. If any of you that are religious, if you weren't fit, let's say you hung around someone in this room that's super fit and you were out of shape. You can't be around that person constantly and not start to eat differently, start to think differently. You're a person of faith. You're around someone who's a high thermostat temperature person of faith. You're around them all the time. You start to behave differently. If you're a man in the room and you start to hang around guys who are true to their wife and love their wife and are faithful to their wife and compliment their wife and hold their wife's hand, they do all that stuff. They date their wife. You can't help but change your thermostat. Same with money. You don't think Sylvester Stallone and Phil Knight and John Elway and Tony Robbins had an impact on me?
If you know the road ahead, you have incredible power called anticipation. Anticipation is the ultimate advantage. See, winners, leaders anticipate, losers react. The reason you get beat is you don't know where things are happening, so you're reacting. Reaction is always stressful. And yet so much of our life is predictable if we just were to study it, not be caught up in our day-to-day. It's predictable the challenges you're going to have in your relationships, or with your kids, or with your body, or with your job, or with your economics, or with your mother-in-law or father-in-law. These are predictable. And if you would anticipate these things and put a strategy in place, you could take it all out and have the quality of life that you deserve. In business, it's everything. Those that anticipate, those that lead, and then there's those that follow. The followers are the reactionaries. So the more we can anticipate, and you can't anticipate and lead unless you first learn how to lead yourself at a different level. So I'd love to have you just see that if you and I can start to take control of our focus, and we can start to control the meaning of our lives and make something really that meaning that empowers us. Because look, what's wrong is always available, isn't it? There's always an Ebola, a bird flu. There's always something that's going to kill the entire human race tomorrow on TV. And then there's your life. What's wrong is always available, and so is what's right. And you have to take control of that focus, because otherwise you become a follower and you get to live your life. Even though you're a smart person, we're all smart, but it's easy to get led astray by everybody else's focus, isn't it? And then all of a sudden let them create the meaning for us. And then all of a sudden we're settling for a life far less than what we desire or deserve. So my approach is really simple. My approach is to say, let's, just for a few little time we have here. By the way, this to me is a little time, a couple hours, 2.5 hours, I guess, at this stage. Because kind of the minimum length of seminar I do is 50 hours, 50. And you go, are you kidding me? I don't like to hear myself talk. I like to see people do things so often they build muscle, not just thoughts. And so one thing I'm going to ask you to do in a few minutes is we're going to go from this passive mode that you're in right now into full engagement. Because if you get fully engaged, it's amazing what you can accomplish and do. When you're partially engaged, you get a little bit of result. When you're disengaged, we all know what you get, nothing. And we live in a society where most of us are so overwhelmed. There's so much information. We're not having any problem with information. We're being drowning in information, but we're starving for wisdom. And so we got to separate it out. And so one way to separate it out is I'd like to talk to you about 3 things that can help you increase your performance and your life. Because what I'm obsessed by and have been for 37 years is what can increase performance for an individual or an organization. But also I'm equally obsessed about what's going to make somebody fulfilled. Because who's had this horrible experience? Who here has ever achieved your goal and then your brain said, is this all there is? Who's had this experience here? Say, I. And that's worse than failing. At least when you fail, your brain can say, I can figure this out and do it again a new way. But when you succeed and you're miserable, you're basically technically screwed.
So their lifelong dream is to have the restaurant experience. But their idea of the restaurant is based by what goes on in the front. And then they get hired and now they're working in the back, where there's pushing and shoving, and you find out who comes late and who you can't depend on, and so-and-so's real anointed, but they also are a liar, and they get on your nerves and they're egotistical maniac. Can I be real up in here this morning? And they're like shocked and flabbergasted and saying, oh God, I'm gonna have to leave this ministry. I never thought in the world. Baby, you signed up for the restaurant, but we hired you in the kitchen. I'm just wondering if you hired your cousin, because they sign, those people sign on and they come on to have grandiose spiritual extravagance. They want to have this moment. It's like people who move to your church because you were in a conference, because they think the conference goes on every Sunday. And then they come back a few Sundays and all them extra people are not there. Israel Houghton is not singing this morning. It's Claire Bell Wilson. And she just a skipping and a singing, and she can't sing worth jack, you know? And they say, where is Israel? Israel is gone, baby.